Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going back to prehistoric times. We're going to be guiding our clans through the fields, trying to make sure we got enough food and enough shelter. We're going to be managing those two resources throughout the game. It's a tile laying game called Sapiens. This is from Yellow, it just came out. It's 2 to 4 players, takes about 45 minutes to play. Let's take a look. I'll show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. At the beginning of the game, you'll take one of these boards that has notches in them. You'll take one of them randomly, and then you'll randomly pick a side, because all the boards are different. You'll also take one of the random boards that has these notches in them, and you'll pick one of those and randomly pick a side. Once you do that, you will put it together like a little puzzle, and you will select what color you want to be during the game. You'll then take your 8 mountain tokens of your color, you'll randomly place them on all the caves and waterfalls on your board, and once they're randomized, you'll just flip them over. And it might look something like this. Random special ability tokens we'll get to later. Now we got the score track set up here. We've got all the different players' scoring markers here. We'll pull out 5 random tiles. That's the common pool that people will be drawing from. And each player will get 4 tiles. Now, keep in mind these tiles, think of them as like dominos, where you'll be matching up tiles to tiles. And also, look, this is a pool and this is a pool, and the artwork on each of the tiles is different, which is really cool. I think there's only 2 tiles for each exact tile in the game. I think the ones with the trees have 3, but there's not that many of each exact tile. You'll get these to start the game. Over the course of the game, you're going to be placing these tiles onto caves for shelter points, or onto fields for food points. Now to start the game, someone's going to get the start player marker, and they're going to take one of their tiles and place it on one of the caves, one of the 6 caves. So this ritual icon matches this cave, so I can basically take this, put it next to my board, this is something I can use later, and I put my cave there. And because there was a token on the cave when I scored it, there'd be 6. If for some reason there was no token, I'll tell you how that could happen later, you would only get 4 points. So here I'm going to get 6 shelter points. So I'd take my green cave here and I'd move it to 6 for 6 shelter points. I then would draw any one of these cards from the pool and then refill it from one of these tile stacks. There's a bunch of random tile stacks just like that. That'd be the end of my turn. Now if it's my turn again, you can only place tiles adjacent to any tile that's on the board that you've already placed. So what I could do is I could place this here because this matches this, I can do that. And when I do that, I can get this amount of food points. So I'm covering that, this matches this, and I'd get 1 food point. So I would just move my food point up there. And so you have 2 different things that you're scoring, food and shelter throughout the game. You also get to activate a special ability for any tile that you've placed that has a matching something next to it. So because I did the mammoth there, I get to activate the special ability, which allows me to get one of these stakes here. And I get to keep this. Now in the future, if I activate this ability again, I can take another stake, or I can sell back the stake for a certain amount of food points. So it's a little press your luck as to you get a bunch of stakes, and then at what point do you want to, instead of taking one, sell them back for a bunch of food points. Again, you place and you draw back up and you refill the pool, and then so it's my next turn. Now when you place things, a couple rules here, I can't place this here because the pool does not match that. I could place this here. I could not place this here because the pool matches that, but it doesn't match that. Anytime you lay something, it has to match everything that it touches. One other thing is this is pickings. It's actually guys picking apples from a tree. This can never go on a field. It always has to go where there's actual trees. There's one exception. I'll get to that later. So I could, let's say, go here, and I would get 2 points like that. 2 food points. And I would activate this special ability. That special ability allows me to swap any one of my tiles for either one from the pool or any of the 4 that's from anybody else's board. So I can use that to swap. Let's say I went here. I could get 2 food points, and I'd get to activate the ritual special ability, which essentially allows me to gain any one of these tokens off here. And these are basically just the same things as the special abilities that you do when you place the tiles, but you can use them whenever you want. So maybe I take this one because it's not blocking a cave, it's just a waterfall there. So now let's say I'm here and I'm going to go into this cave. I have to put a ritual here, and I have to put the bone symbol here because this is the bone symbol. And I would get the cave, and because that was there, I would have gotten 7 more shelter points, and I get this to use later. And again, this would have allowed me to use that ritual, which was get one of these other tokens if I want. Now, it might happen that you don't have, at some point, any tiles that you can legally play. And when that happens, you actually have to flip all these over. This is an abandoned tribe, essentially. Like that. None of these, basically it just shows you that you can't add to any of these. It's an abandoned tribe. You would take any one of these off, throw it away, and you would start a new cave here. So just basically, you can get stuck once in a while, but it's very detrimental to you. And of course, when you place it there, you're going to get the lower of the 2 points because there's no token there. Now let's look at the different abilities. Now, as I mentioned, when you play one and it matches the one next to it, you get to activate a special ability. This one, just the pickings gives you one more food point. We've already talked about the steak. The red fight allows you to get a fight token, and you put a fight token of your color onto either a tile that's in the middle, which is where people are drawing from, or you can put it on somebody else's. When that gets placed, that person gets -1 food, and you get +1 food. So it's a way to kind of attack other players. The camp, if you do a camp, you'll automatically just get 3 shelter points. The fire, essentially what you'll do is you can do one of two things. You can either take one of these bear icons and put it on somebody else's board. So let's say someone's board looked like this, they got the bear, they could put it right here, and what happens is every adjacent tile gets them 1 shelter point. So that person would get 1 shelter point, 2 shelter points total, and I can't place a tile there, so it sort of blocks me as well. Now, if you activated the fire and you have a bear, instead of placing it on somebody else's board, you can remove it from your board to unblock you. And the only one I haven't talked about is the bone, and that allows you just to go a second turn, placing another tile right in a row. Now, as you saw, you got some of these tokens from the caves and such as the game went on. These allow you to, once per turn, you can use one of these to just enact the same special ability that this usually does. So you could grab another tile, you could get the steak. In this case, on this one, you can't sell the steak, you can only just get it. This one is a sort of an exclusion where when you play this tile, you actually can break the rule and you could actually play one of these on a field. So this is the only one that sort of works a lot differently, these two. This one is you can't sell the steak, you can only buy it. And this one is, it allows you to break the rule. All the rest of them do the exact same things as you would if you have activated a tile. Now this will continue until, again, every turn someone's removing one of these and another one's coming out. And this will continue until all of the tiles draw are empty and all of the tile pools are empty. That signifies the last round. Once everybody's had one turn that round, it's over. Now what you do is the scoring is kind of interesting. Everybody removes their highest token. You have a shelter and a food. So if yellow would move his furthest up, green, blue, and red, and whatever your lower score is the winner. In this case, green would win because his lower token was higher than everybody else's. That's how you play Sapiens. There is Sapiens. This looked really interesting to me because, you know, a while ago, Augustus came out, and that was like Gamer Bingo. It was similar to Bingo, but it was good for gamers, but good to introduce new people to it. And then last year, there was Gamer Connect 4, which was like Game of 49. And so I love seeing these games that come out that have like old certain type of mechanics that everybody kind of knows, but does something special with them. And this is essentially gamer dominoes. So when I saw this, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Now there's a lot of things I like about this game. There's a lot of things I didn't like about this game. So let's talk about the things I liked first. First of all, the artwork on this is amazing. Normal yellow fashion. Every time you get a yellow game, the artwork's going to be fantastic, and this is no difference. The box looks awesome. The artwork on the tiles, they could have easily have just made every type of tile that had that same type of, whether it's the pickings or the mammoth, they could have made it look the same, but they went through and made sure that all of them look quite different from each other, and that's awesome. The tiles itself feel good, the boards look good. I like the randomization of the setup where you're taking a board, 2 different halves of boards, and you're randomizing it. So every time you play, it's going to be slightly different because the board's going to be different. And I like the aspect of kind of playing those dominoes down and thinking about where to put things. There's some forward planning that has to happen. And I really like the scoring mechanism of, it's like that Reiner Knizia thing where, hey, when you score, the lowest of all your scores, your 2 scores is your points, and whoever has the most wins. And I like that about it too. Those are the things I liked about the game. It was fun to try to figure out where to put things and go through and try to forward plan and try to mix and match your dominoes or your tiles and try to get them to fit. The problem I had with the game was with analysis paralysis, or AP. The game is very spatial. If you don't like spatial games or you're trying to figure out how to fit things together, this is not the game for you. If you like spatial things, then this might be a good puzzle for you to try to figure out. Now, part of the things I didn't like about this is it's very unforgiving. If you mess up and either miss a tile that you really needed or place it wrong early in the game or something like that, it really hurts you for the rest of the game because of the way the caves are lined up and the other tiles are lined up, it's really hard to get maneuvering around if you've screwed yourself up. So it's kind of unforgiving in that regard. Now, in addition to that, when you're placing the tile and it gets the time for you to figure out which tile to draw, a lot of times the game is a lot more thinky than you think it will. It looks light, haha, gamer dominoes, let's go, and you think it's going to be a fast-moving game, but what I found is it's so thinky and so spatial that everybody just comes to a landlock when they're trying to figure out which tile to pull. Not all the time, not every player, but it happens quite enough. And then next, no one else is doing anything because what they do depends on what tile you take. Because if you take the one that they were going to take, that might change what they're going to play. So it's not like you can just keep the game moving. You have to wait for someone to figure out what tile they want to take as they're planning, and then they take it. And so that slows the game down a lot. And some of those special abilities do the same thing. You get the bear. You got to figure out, okay, well, where should I put it? Let me go look at your board and see what you're up to. Let me see the tiles you have, where you're building. What's the thing that's going to hurt you the most? Well, that might hurt you a lot. Let me look over at this player's board, and it's more AP. And then, some of those other abilities do that too, where it's like, okay, the fight token. Where am I going to put the fight token? Again, it just makes people sit there and think longer than you should have to think because it's so unforgiving. There's only 2 of the exact tiles in the game for most of the tiles. I think there's 3 for the ones that have the pickings on them, those trees. So if you mess up or you miss a tile, or you miss an opportunity, there's only one other tile. And since tiles are randomly thrown out at the beginning of the game, there might only be one or none of might be one of the tiles that you're looking for left or even in the game. So, not a lot of those tiles makes it harder, makes you really need to focus. You could say, well, you just play it fast and light and easy. Yes, but you really can't because of the way that the tiles are. You really need to focus and not screw up because you will detriment the rest of your game for that. So I really liked a lot of this. Oh man, I wanted to like this game. Gamer dominoes, awesome scoring, awesome artwork, looks like fun. But in the end, for me, it just didn't do it because of the amount of thinkingness, the spatialness, the unforgivingness, and the waiting on the downtime. And so I thought, well, let's try to play with 2 players. Maybe it's a great 2-player game. Well, in the 2-player rules, after you take a tile from the pool, you have to then remove a tile. More thinking. It almost combats what I wanted that game to do, which was make it move faster, and in a sense, it didn't. So I really wanted to like this, but unfortunately those negatives were too much for me to recommend it. Although, just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you won't, because I think for people that like spatial stuff, you might still want to give this one a try. And that's Sapiens, and together, let's spread our love of board games and through board games.